Welcome back. We are here to do an update, very unexpected. I was going to post earlier today. For those of you that don't know, I am in WA, Western Australia. So, yes, I was on the road today and I was like, oh, we really need to do an update here. Now, it has been a while and some of the posts have been actually coming up in layman's terms of community posts because I am very tight for time. But I do feel this part of the month and I still am in my work attire, but we have to do this update. So I'll chuck myself on screen. If you haven't got a cuppa, grab a cuppa and I'll put myself on speaker. Now, the reason I think it's quite important to do this, and it does depend on where you are spiritually, how you're going to actually deal with this energy. Now, I know for those of you that have followed me for a long time, I do tend to try and take responsibility in a sense. If I get a psychic download or I'm experiencing something, I will try and share that for moral support. This is one of those tactical years. It's like one of those circumstances where we're integrating. And, you know, for some of us, it can be that, especially, and I don't know if you've noticed, and feel free to share. Hi, love. There are so many wonderful readers on YouTube, which is absolutely fantastic, especially because of the energy of Pluto and Aquarius. There has been a lot of innovation to do with technology, to do with astrology, to do with tarot. And it's one of those things, so, you know, and one could say, oh, a fad, but it is becoming more demysticized, so to speak. So it's very natural that we now are getting a very broad signature when it does come to the astrology, which is perfect. And, you know, you'll always find your correct location to go to find your source. I tend to use myself as a guinea pig in layman's terms of looking at the astrology, especially with the coaching and the things that I do, to try and find layers. And I mean, you could literally be there hours interpreting a general overview for a zodiac sign. And I think it's important for us to get some context, and I'll turn the audio down just in case I start getting notifications. We don't like that. I've muted it. Settings off. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so this moon in Capricorn, it's a black moon. Okay, it is important, and it was funny because I do watch this darling astrologer. I'm not going to name names. She's absolutely gone through an evolution, which I think personally and spiritually we all are directly going through. And we're trying to navigate that in our own personal lives. And, you know, I do so value the membership because we really bounce off each other and we communicate and we express situations that are happening. And so, you know, being aware of things, it help you navigate transits. I do believe 100%, but it also does not make you immune to bullshit. It doesn't. But you go into it and you're like, seriously, like, you know, especially when you know where it's hitting your chart, what potentials can come up and how it can come about. Now, I have had a lot of coaching going on lately, and we are going to get into the context of why this moon's very important. So it's not going to be a rat race through BS. It is going to be getting to the crux. I'm hoping to give you guys some context to navigating these circumstances. I have put some reference points very quickly in a community post at Yildiz Readings 5D. So up on the main page here, the very first post I put up, I placed basically some interpretations of where these energies would show up, what sort of subject matters could be coming up. And, you know, when you're aware of this, to actually, you will literally see signatures kind of oozing everywhere. Now, number one is with Capricorn, the shadow sign is Cancer. The aspects that are being made at this point in time are difficult. Hi, sweet. The other thing is a lot of us are going to have this pressure. Now, where this pressure is going to come from, you're going to get a few signatures. Number one is you could be triggered by things happening in the world. It's a given, okay? And we're transitioning through. And it's weird because, you know, this year, no sooner do planets go direct, do some planets go retrograde. Plus, this was quite a big year. So it's almost like, you know, imagine hosting a large party and you have, you know, it's like a wedding. You know, you're getting a wedding and if you've got this dream of how it's going to be. you know, big dress, big hair, and everything goes wrong. And you're like, why is this happening? Could you imagine trying to schedule something when all the planets are moving? It's very similar. It's like, you know, the analytics, the navigation, the communication between, you know, providers. It's like messy. So this year, I do feel, especially, it was from September last year, which I've referenced quite a bit. Although we can be frustrated and we can listen to astrologers and go, heck, you know, it's still pretty crap. I have been, hi Dale, I have literally been so amused, especially because, you know, if you are very intuitive relating to your own energy and you are aware of the placements and you do, you know, it's a bit like tarot. You'll get a tarot reading and you go, that's BS, you know, this is not happening in my life. I don't know what you're talking about, sister. And you tap off the channel. And it's like, yes, from a manifestation point of view, sometimes the signature is in the ethers. It is coming. It is a transition you're moving through. So it's not that it's not going to occur. You know, many moons ago, there was a vibration. It was back in 2017. A lot of astrologers, tarot readers, psychics would sugarcoat things. And I remember coming across this tarot reader and she was like, look, you know, I no sugarcoat. And it was strange because it was a different vibration. I think at a collective level, we want less in a sense of the sugarcoating. We do want the straight. We want to know what we're directly dealing with. So we're probably going to have a lot more respect if, you know, individuals that we're visiting are just being really real and maybe sharing a personal experience. I can say, like I said, it is going to be hard. What we're integrating at the moment, there are certain collective dynamics that are subject matters. So if you have felt pulled in between your business and your family, or you've had a living situation, and a career-related dynamic, and you're juggling it all in the air, and you're feeling very distorted and frizzled, it is perfectly natural. It is part of the transits at the moment. And I did reference this in one of the Twin Flame videos from a spiritual point of view of what I did experience way back when through my awakening. And I had this revelation. It's so funny because I've literally got the elephants up on the wall here. And I was looking at the elephants one evening when I was going through a dark night of soul, and I was like, you know, elephants look to be very nurturing. And so, you know, I'm kind of thinking about it back to all the animal shows my father and mother would watch. And I was like, you know, do elephants reject their children? Jupiter in Cancer. Because Jupiter can be the guru, but we're having all these subjects to do with women's health. And you know, I'm going to get into the grit of why some of these things can be coming up, how they can be changing, but at the moment, how we can be looking at it going, hey, I thought you told me that Jupiter actually does really well in Cancer. It does. We've just got to wait. So with looking at, you know, these elephants, I was like, do they reject their young? Because my previous Pluto transit was literally in my family zone. It was a shit show. But it did spiritually teach me a lot, and it did help me evolve to view both sides of the coin. So it does serve a purpose. And yes, in fact, it does show that, like in the human race, we can. So we're going to have subjects and difficulties with what, especially with placements and Aries. It's almost like, who am I? So you could have, in the last 3 months, felt as though you were having a little bit of an existential crisis. Like, who the heck am I? Am I that old person? No, I'm not. Oh, but it feels safe. No, but I'm not. Like, you know, and so it is part of the dynamic where we are re-establishing the new version of who we are to be. It is transitioning how we're showing up. We can be confused by people's perspectives of us. We can be under the pressure of modern day, basic stuff like dealing with family. Where are we living? Where are we going in the future? Should we make a dream? Some of those dreams could have felt distorted. Now, it is because when we had Neptune and Pisces, you get a lot of direct subjects in a particular area. One is very dreamlike. You know, it's, and I've always said, especially with Neptune, whenever go retrograde, I feel so disappointed because I had this vision, you know, and it's like, because it really is very an intuitive energy. It's like the nutty professor, and you're moving forward and you're like, okay, I think I've got the gist. So you spiritually are moving forward towards a goal and ambition, a circumstance, wherever that falls in your chart, but in general. And as it moves retrograde, it's a huge insult because you realize you've been wrong. But it's there to serve you because, this other post I directly put up, which was very relevant to what we're going through right now, especially if we're really criticizing ourselves and saying, hang on a minute. And I said to my sister this, it was something that came up and I mentioned it to my twin. And then I thought, I need to share this and I need to express the reasons why. Now, where do systems come from? And this was the statement I made out loud. And I was like, God, that makes so much sense. It's really weird when you say something, you're like, oh. Because I was looking at a circumstance at work. And, when we do look back to the old days where we had jobs, now we have, regulations, rules, all the rest of it. Where did they come from? And it's also a way I am wired, is that I am a huge problem solver. And it's just the way I am. It's like I will always go in doing something that is shown to me, required of me. And then after such, because of the way my brain's wired, I generally find a better way to do it, which is a system. So how do we get to those systems? It could be in a circumstance you're dealing with right now and you're going, how the heck am I going to get there, yours? How you're going to get there is realize your failure does not dictate where you're going. Your failure is a process of elimination of one way it doesn't work. And so you effectively are stepping forward. And that's what the last 20 odd years has done. Now, your frustration can be because we have had a lot of planets move. We've had a lot of retrogrades. We're having dramas coming up, and we're literally just Mercury in shadow. It's going to be an absolute shit show, but it's going to serve a purpose. When we have planets going retrograde, what is the universe trying to tell us? Which is the quotes and the references I was saying to you guys. First thing, where do systems come from? Systems come from failure, okay? Because all your quality systems, it was a piece of material that we were looking at work, because I work in a metal industry as a truck driver as well as tarot psychic, all the rest of it, balancing both worlds. And we were looking at this product and we opened it up. And because certain products do need to be dry, the person who produced this material had actually put a plastic sheet inside the external coating, which is a system, okay? So it was from that notion, I think we do need to look at our life, and we could be looking at circumstances coming and it's looking messy. And it's like, why are you doing that for? The thing that we do need to understand is when you are rebuilding the world, which effectively is kind of in the ethers due to the fact that we had Pluto leaving Capricorn, it feels uncomfortable because it's a death and it's a rebirth. And so it's almost like we do hold on from a psychological point of view, something that feels very natural to us, because it's almost like a habit. Okay, that person hurt me. Sorry, I burnt my hand when I touched the stove. So therefore, anytime something does happen again, the first response I'm going to have is, I see a red flag. Okay, so it is natural that we do that. It is hard for adults to transition, and it has been known since the test of time, but it doesn't mean it can't be done. And it doesn't mean, Saturn is about wisdom. The moon in Capricorn is the things that have gone, you can still take with you. Your wisdom is ancient wisdom. It serves a purpose in the new world. It serves a purpose moving forward. What do we do when we want advice? Many years I spent in community, in nursing, and I worked with elderly as well. And they had the most beautiful, eloquent advice. And they really were my guides early on in the piece, which I do feel incredibly blessed for, because it was an actual wise adult coming to me from their personal life experience, which was very relevant. So Capricorn can be the older energy. The other thing it can be is rules, laws. Jupiter also, we're looking at it and we're going, okay, we've got this conversation going on between Jupiter and Cancer. What can these subjects be coming up? Or what have we seen all over the news? A, it's going to be in your own personal life. And B, it can be happening in the collective. So we see shifts of rules and laws, jurisdiction, especially working on YouTube. You constantly have to review the new rules and regulations. And it's a little bit like a city growing all of a sudden, and suddenly it's like, oh God, we haven't got the traffic lights here. You know, what are the rules going to be in this community? And so Pluto and Aquarius is re-establishing those things. It's like, wow, okay, this is happening really fast. And we will see technology happening extremely fast. So although we can see the paradigm and the reality that, yes, those things for you, for me, for everyone is going to be protected, we also can be deeply cautious about what we can be seeing with certain things. And we do need to be really open-minded. Like I said, Saturn retrograde, Neptune retrograde, they are going to dip back into Pisces. When we had the dream initially in the Piscean energy, it was very intuitive, trusting the process, not really too attached. When Saturn joined the team, it helped us maybe initially feel disillusioned and hindered wherever Pisces was for you. But it helped us really say, well, no, we can actually still achieve that area, but we're going to have to create a structured plan. So it helped us do the math. But initially, we were very detached to a degree. It was like, it's going to happen. You know, I've got plenty of time. Moving into Aries, and I have said this to my members from 7 years ago, and I did warn you guys about 3 years ago. I was like, you do need to realize when a planet moves into the first house, it's going to be a shock to the system. Because when we have it move into the first house, you know, we don't understand how codependent the collective is. You know, it's like the people we depend on, the systems we depend on, and then realizing, okay, that can be skimmed away. Now, how, first house, can we become independent in our own lives? And I did see that, again, South Node in Virgo, we are going to see, especially when I pulled certain charts, it's like Medicare in Australia, for instance, which is a medical system. And again, I do not give medical, financial, legal advice. This is for entertainment, YouTube. So when we have the energy of Virgo in the South Node, it doesn't mean it goes away. It means it's becoming re-established. You know, some astrologers mention the reference that we can't do that no more. And I do agree with that. And I have, in the last 7 odd years, not seen something come from the South Node. So don't feel that you won't get something from the South Node. What's going to happen is it's a place in which has become outdated. It doesn't work anymore. It's comfortable. It's like, yeah, it does the job, but it doesn't work anymore. And we have to admit, any area of the Virgo, and I'd love to hear your opinion, guys, has the Virgo energy of our life worked? And so what could we say? You know, I was even having a chat to another co-worker, and we were talking about the dental system. And he said, you know, nobody can afford it. The average Joe Block cannot afford it. And it's very true. You know, there was, and again, every country's different. Every country has their own drama going on. Yes, we will be honest. We do have a focus, particularly in a certain area. But Australia definitely is going to come up. Their chart is lit up. So is America's. So we are going to see particular countries. But it's happening everywhere. So the South Node in Virgo, some of the subjects. It can be Mercury subjects like technology. It can be your cars. We will see changes happening, especially with Uranus entering the car industry. We will have, communication, alliances, bookkeeping. We saw a lot of people being sacked. Medical, health. Now, the good part is we will have breakthroughs in those particular areas, but it will evolve. So the old system it initially was on, especially because the previous system was Capricorn and this moon is Capricorn, we are collectively seeing changes happening in those areas. Now, I dare you, go out, and I would like you to look at anything to do with children, anything to do with women's rights, anything, and just this month, you usually get a shadow energy, and it can be of 2 months. Women, laws, regulations, rights. I do, and this is my prediction, I do believe in the next 12 months there will be changes relating to a masculine parent's rights. And we will see how that goes. We tend to get the darker side of a transit initially, especially with it being rebirthed. But as it moves forward, we can see the more full circle. Now, what does Jupiter do? Jupiter comes to give you an opportunity, which there will be opportunities. The shadow sign of Cancer is Capricorn. We can look at Pluto as Uranus and Saturn, and Capricorn as Saturn, which can be structured society systems, rules, regulations, laws, government. We will see opportunities coming to families around homes, maybe building homes, protecting of our families, and our priority will become that. And these subjects later are going to come back up in a few years' time. So pay attention to it. Try and find the balance. If you can avoid making any major decisions at this point in time, for some of you, it can be that you have had an idea about what you want to do. And you might have had that idea back September last year. And again, I would love to hear what that was for you and where it is now and how that's transitioning. For some of you, you might have prematurely made that dash and started moving. You probably had some adversity due to all the retrogrades. And navigating that sometimes can be difficult. You especially could be a little bit disillusioned. Now, as we've moved forward, there's so much going on that has thrown me to another road. Yeah. So it's almost been like we're racking our heads. Like I've had people tell me they've been screaming in their car. I've had people consistently, based on the astrology, seeing physical manifestations. Like literally every person I've talked to, there is something happening with their family. Every person that we're talking to, it could be like there's one person that I know in my social circle. There could be a sibling, they're having issues with an ex. And again, Jupiter in Cancer, courts. Okay. Dental, South Node, wellness, Chiron at the end of this month, you do need to look after your wellness. Again, it's not medical advice. What Chiron can do is going to help us, and I can be perfectly honest with you with that. It's been there quite a while. It does tend to stay in the zodiac sign of Aries longer. What we need to understand is it's good that Saturn and Neptune are retrograding. It's going to help us slow down to go, okay, what does this mean? Now, can we have a new beginning without packing and tucking into bed that baggage? Those of you that have gone through awakenings, no, you can't. It's baggage. It's like carrying a dead horse around. It doesn't work. And we do need to prepare ourselves. This is going to be fast drive. This is going to be so quick that we need to spiritually adjust, okay? It's like becoming an astronaut and you haven't even been trained. I do believe, I think it was 2018, we had the Schumann jump above 100. And for those of you that don't know, if you've looked at the Schumann, you can feel it. Yeah, the science says certain things. I'm psychic. I was feeling it energetically and it was affecting my aura. And I do know how to ground. So some of those tools you are going to need to go back to. Now, you always can change your mind. I'm going to say that to you. Number one, you can change your mind. You do have time. If something in a particular area in the House of Capricorn is happening and you have to make a decision, trust the process. It's divinely guided because it's generally lit up like a Christmas tree in your birth chart. And it was meant to happen, especially because the universe believes you're ready for this new chapter. And they do feel that there is a different opportunity that is going to work for you better. So you are going to need to care for your wellness. Some of you Capricorns are going to be like, shit, is this thing happening all over again? So if you have a bit of a deja vu from 2020 and maybe even last year, and especially October, November, December, that was a joyride. That was like, can we just get the hell out of this year? That's really how I felt. It is normal, okay? You guys are having an adjustment too. With the energy, I would not be surprised for some of you if you are having changes with your friendship groups. If maybe your hopes, dreams, and aspirations and what you do for free is changing. And it's not that we're not going to do things in good faith. It's more that you could be, sometimes we do spiritually tend to go to extremes, and it can be because we've just had a lot of crap over the last few years. So it could be that, you know, a bunch of people have done something and you're sort of personalizing it and going, I really don't understand why this is happening. Am I cursed? It is adjusting you to get to a certain place. And I do particularly know Leos are going through quite a bold change. It can be difficult for you to navigate. If you are finding you're needing to let go of certain things and you're finding that patterns, habits, and triggers are coming up, it is preparing you in the early stages to look and accept and honor your deservingness. Where you had difficult relationships, subjects with money, subjects with you versus other people, you know, you guys always were supposed to be the innovators. 9 times out of 10 people can become extremely jealous of you. These transits can be challenging. And so from a Mercury point of view and the transits, I would say slow down. I would say first acknowledge, and this is for anyone, acknowledge what you are feeling right now. Honor that. It's okay to have those feelings. The second I would do is, unless you need to do something, don't do anything yet. Wait till we get through the hump, right? It's Capricorn. It's bad. It can be challenging. And I have seen behavioral patterns today living through the Capricorn energy, which I was expecting but wasn't expecting. And so, you know, when you are trying to be accountable, you can navigate that more effectively, but don't be surprised if you see it, okay? So pre-warned, forearmed, the energy and how people are experiencing it, especially when we are none the wiser, that at a collective level, we all directly have a particular dynamic going on. And then we're watching what's going on in the world. And it's like, hey, you know, hang on a minute. Look at your neighbors. Look at your siblings. You know, you could have a perspective with a love interest. How does it directly apply to something personally you are going through? And it doesn't mean tolerate bullshit. It does mean be aware and look at that perspective from the other side of the coin. Prepare your soil and, you know, give yourself a wide berth. Now, what do I mean by that? And I don't even know if I'm saying it correctly. Where it comes to your plans, my suggestion would be you are going to do it. Okay. Now, when does that happen? If you can't do it right now, and it can be for a myriad of reasons, and again, I would love to know what your goal is and where you're finding issues. And then we can look at your zodiac and we can talk about what to do before, after, or whenever. Where that area applies, if you can acknowledge the thing you want to do, use the retrogrades to tune, prepare, do things in the background, a little bit like the Hermit card in Tarot. And if you're finding certain things are triggering you, tune in now and then, tap out and go and do that plan. Be very vigilant, very focused, and chip away at that gradually. If you're trying to get into that Zen space and you've got too much going on in here, again, honor that. That's okay. Get a piece of paper. Write what you feel. Have you ever had those moments you're like, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and it's really eating at you and you're being critical to yourself? You're like, I need to get my shit together. I haven't done this, I haven't done that. The best practice, honestly, is get it out of your head, okay? So just write it down on a list and go, that's my to-do list. And honest to gospel, the first thing you do, you feel ultimately relieved because you're like, I've started. Now I don't have to think about it every day. And when you go to sleep, you give yourself that sacred space. You're like, you know what? No, that is a problem that I have started resolving, and I will chip away at it in divine timing. And take your time. Now, with the South Node in Virgo, you're going to have a lot of creative ideas. You almost might psych yourself out, especially the timing. And I do need to get the exact date that Saturn will go from Aries back into Pisces like a bunny rabbit. That's going to be a blast, man. And the eclipse is mid-August. Prepare. You will sense it. And I feel more mid-August. I'm really picking mid-August. chip away at the plan. Now, the window, and something I've been sensing based on what I'm seeing in the charts and the transits, is relating to the plan, goal, thing, or area. What house would I name it in? Aries. Aries and Libra, or Cancer and Capricorn. More Aries. Look to where that placement is in your chart. Now, where could you go? You could go to AstroSeek, especially for those that are pretty newbies. It's pretty simple. Just type in astroseek.com and you can plug your charts in. In looking at that, there is a direct position. I might do a tutorial at some point. I can chuck it on the website for people that are going, what does this mean? I really don't understand. I'm trying to do the Astro Talk so you don't understand. I'm really trying. And if you need a hand, I can give you a hand. Well, there's hundreds of people that can. So when you plug it in, it does give you the planet positions, and it can give you a better understanding of what particular area it is in your life. And those can be the key things. So to any of you in the house right now, know, where it's at. I do believe we did actually have, and I think the members, we had that, didn't we? Where we could directly add, I don't know, media, banner. I think we could actually add the chat into the StreamYard's flipped it up on us again, which is great. I mean, I love what they're doing. It's just, once I have had so many readjustments to do that physically in 90% of the area, I've even found an audio with stage thing. Wow, okay. Private messaging. No, I don't know. I don't know how it's, share your, no. On the last one, show comments. There you go. There we go. Any of you comment now, it'll flip up on the screen. So it's a new addition to it. You might have seen it on other YouTubers. They absolutely are. Good morning. How are you doing, Chris? So how many of you have been having issues? Is it in your love life? Is it in your career? Is it about where you're living? Is it your personal spiritual emotions? Are you being critical on yourself because of your spiritual healing? Are you worried about your country and the safety and the economy? Like, what is it? What is that thing that is just really irking you right now? I even wanted to do a podcast because I had the psychic download and it was like, no, there is solutions. There is, all of that. Oh, well, good to hear. I'm glad that I'm, it's landing. So what we can see, so some of you might have, and I have seen the members actually chime in and go, did you just see what happened on the news? And I'm like, oh, bloody what now? It's like it's a given. It is a given. So tariffs on medical. Again, it's Jupiter in Cancer, traveling overseas to give Jupiter energy. And there is going to be negotiations, but there is also, you pull the chart for America, you pull the chart for Australia, you pull the chart for Donald Trump, and you can see interesting dynamics, okay? There could be lucky stints for America. There also could be challenges because of the placement of your North Node. It is going to change. So the status of who you are, where you're going. I think this Mercury retrograde is going to be incredibly interesting because it does relate to a degree to the North Node. Jupiter in Cancer, especially with where Gemini is in your chart in America, it's almost like, I can't say we can go into this easy. I can't see the Uranian energy like going into it easy. Whenever a planet shifts, it's going to be super interesting. Let's just be real. The other thing is that we do need to, if we actually can understand the transits, how things are shifting, and we do tend to look forward, we can understand and we are actually less surprised. We are less surprised. So again, understand what Jupiter is for the next 12 months. So what areas can it be? Where is it in your own personal life? Because you do have a life, apparently. And also you're in, your circle of friends, your partner, your colleague, like whatever. Then you have the collective energy. Yes, notoriously, there has been aspects where with Uranus in Gemini, we have had things previously in war. It could be in another area. I just, I'd like, and I'm not saying that it won't. I'm not saying it will. But I did say to those that I have spoken to is that we do need to realize we need to gauge it this year. Because if things, and my reference was, if things start popping off, we do need to prepare and be aware. So, North Node in Pisces, it feels like an oxymoron because A, it's psychological, it's spiritual, water, it can be water, it can be emotions, it can be spirituality, religion. We saw the Pope pass, God rest his soul. A new one come in. So we have these changes happening. We have changes to do with the waters, so to speak, the ocean. And yes, we have had floods in certain countries. When Saturn does ingress back into Pisces, we do need to watch that. It's almost like a gate where it holds it up. And as it retrogrades, it's like the floodgates open. It's like all rules out the door. And I don't necessarily think it's completely like that with some of those manifestations I have physically seen. It can loosen up during the time, which it can benefit us. So in reflecting, it's like the stickler leaves the building, right? And it's like, oh God, where you got that grind, it's slowing down, creating the new processes, creating the new systems in your life so that you can get your goals done. So I'm really not feeling for a majority of us, we can't achieve those areas. This transit in particular over the next 3 years, this psychic warning I have received energetically and what I'm actually viewing is where that placement is in your chart of Aries. I want you between now and February to make up your mind. Now, it could be, and this could go two ways. A, it could be you're well aware of that particular area and you are going into a circumstance, you're feeling that it's going to be a bit of a drag, but you're like, I've got to do it. Now, what could that be? It could be your family. It could be having to work a certain job. If it is not in spiritual alignment for you, and I would not be surprised if this has come up for you, a lot of us are changing our spiritual beliefs relating to values. So it can spiritually feel like if you are doing something that isn't in alignment with you, that you are selling your soul to the devil. It's just going to feel very much a drag. Does that make sense? It's going to hinder your spirit. So it's almost like, and you'll always know because it could be you're going to a certain location and you're feeling ill, you're getting run down, you're rejecting it, and it's just getting you all up in your feels. So, sometimes you can't not acknowledge those things and you are going to have to address them. The other can be, yes, you can make your decision, but it's probably going to need to be by February next year, latest. Getting your ducks in a row to then, or you could end up doing that for 3 years. Now, if you are looking at that particular area in your chart and you are looking at going, I really don't want to do that for 3 years, you do need to make up your mind and be that spiritual advocate for yourself, set your systems up, get yourself spiritually prepared so that you can actually achieve that. These things are going to set us up quite well. We may need to be more flexible, especially with the way transits are, and we're integrating this year and adjusting. We may need to be more realistic about what we can achieve. Now, I did say this year, the beginning half of the year and the other half of the year, they're two different vibrations. It's like going to a Martian planet. So you are going to feel, if you guys have been going, oh God, it's been really hard, you literally are going to feel as though halfway through the year, the next 6 months is a totally different ball game. Now, intellectually, and I have given the members these tips, if you have been finding mentally, you literally can't concentrate, you're losing your words, you're like, I've lost the plot. Because the South Node is the place we are needing to move away from, it's very intellectual. Some rules that you can actually set with yourself, which I actually found this coming through for me. very early in the stage. I was like, sod this. This is actually messing with me. You can literally go into analysis paralysis where you will be on one subject an entire day and then get triggered and go, I'm never going to get anything done, and get very worried and stressed. So if you can set yourself some guidelines, and I was like, it's that third day transit, because you go down the rabbit hole, it's like, no, and your OCD with your cleaning at the moment, Jupiter and Cancer, a lot of renovations, a lot of cleaning. You might be moving to move closer to family. You could move because of family, it can be vice versa. It's going to give you both situations. If you can get, like I said, write it down or make a direct statement to yourself, you are allowed to spend 1 to 2 hours max on a particular subject. So, I was editing the website. I'm like, what the hell happened here? So I started editing because, new direction. That took an entire day, and I get 1 day off work. That took an entire day, and I was like, this is ridiculous. I had other things to do. So I noted the fact that it was a South Node aspect, and went, okay, I'm going to have to get my toolkit out. I'm going to have to look at this in a totally different way. And I have found, in order to deal with some of the circumstances coming up, I've had to completely rechange my routine. So it's not that some of these things can't be managed, but we are going to be having to be realistic about how we achieve those things. It's like eating a hamburger and saying I'm going to lose weight. It's like probably not going to work. But let's get to the root cause of what's going on. Is it something spiritual, emotional, etc.? It's just an example. I had to change the way I was doing my day-to-day routine to achieve that. So what different zodiacs do we have in the house? So anyway, the tip in general is just be aware of when that's happening, because the North Node in Pisces can make you just not make decisions, and so you won't get anywhere in the next, and you don't want that. It can feel stifling that you literally, from a point of view, when you're trying to make any decision, you won't know which one to make. It's kind of like a Libra. And I don't think Libra doesn't make up their mind. I just think that they see both perspectives, and I think Libra's energy is very different. So yeah, it's not the same Libra energy as they were. The South Node was there. They're not the same. So if you had previous an experience with Libra, they're not the same. Nor is Aries or Cancer or Capricorn for that matter. So in that, be aware when that's happening, get to a point. And for those of you that are Virgo and Virgo and Pisces, huge year for you guys. Self-awareness is key. At times you can feel very alone. At times you will be internalizing things. At times you're going to see where you are the issue. And I'm telling you that because I love you, because I did it myself. I've been through the first and the seventh house twice, because you got your rising, etc. No, it was not fun. Gee, was it very educational. So I saw how I could honor myself. I saw how maybe inadvertently I was part of a problem in circumstances, and it reshaped my whole being, my connections, my partnerships, my love for myself, my body, my purging relating to, people that had let me down in love, for instance. So where I want to be, what my purpose is, where my money's at, all of that. It's Venusian energy versus you. It's how you look. And, I remember, like, literally, if you look back to my 2017-18, drastic weight loss, dark night of the soul energy. And then I got Ross River and it screwed me over again. So I've got to go back to that, which for Libra and Aries, you guys will actually have that body change again moving forward. So if you had wellness and all the rest of it, some of it can come back up at the minute, but it's going to move forward where you're actually going to, you're taking accountability. The transit isn't quite there where it's going to impact you, so to speak. Some of those things could be with retrograde. So it's about reviewing, and that's for all of us, reviewing in the retrograde. So I might briefly, just because I love this, we do have bookings online if you do want to go to them. I have set a lot of the streaming decks up, which is for the members, which is Sage in a Circle Network. integrating them, getting prepared for education content I'm going to be developing, rebuilding the website, re-navigating the content. A lot of the content, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, that's moving forward. We're going to have energy updates. It has been very difficult because of literally the transits this year, navigating circumstances and responsibilities, as well as my astrology chart is literally lit up like a Christmas tree. So the plan prior to Mercury going retrograde, so it's lost in translation, is there is going to be a lot of evergreen content, which is polar opposite to what people train you. But it's because I feel that a lot of the experience I hold is actually being shared to my clients, and I'm repeating a lot of that. So I do feel it's important to give you those particular tools. And they are, from my perspective, as a psychic medium, astrologist, soul coach, twin flame, and dealing with a lot of those things. So a lot of those subject matters are going to be housed under Yildiz Readings 5D. At points when I can, I will create, based on the popularity of that, hopefully, at this point, it will be content based around that particular subject where a person could go and, view that energy to alchemize it inside themselves and maybe have a coaching session, like education content. So that's the plan at this point in time, as I'm cleaning everything else up. So I'll get the chart. Feel free to ask questions. Leo sun. Oh, girl. Aries moon. So how's work going? Are you working, Rory? I even had a person ask me about my psychic energy, and I think an old friend of mine told her. She goes, oh, no, I probably can't get a reading from you now because you've read me. And I went, nah, man. That's one thing I was very adamant I would never do. From an ethical point of view, spiritually, I felt that was an invasion of a person's aura. And quite frankly, I had my own life. So unless their guides were literally screaming at me, it just wouldn't happen. Where did I put my bloody chart? There. You just put it back in the book, you fool. No, you didn't. So while I get myself together behind here, which I won't go anywhere, I'm still here. I'm just going to get the charts, and we will quickly talk about what is going on. I mean, we should start with Capricorn. We really should. I've been doing so many tarot readings that I've lost my paperwork. I'll write it down again. Are we having fun? Have we gained any insight? I literally, over the last few weeks, I literally have heard so many different variables that I wasn't gelling with it. I was, but I wasn't. I was like, yeah, no, yeah. So how many of you have actually bounced and looked at your zodiac sign? Do you know where those things are? Then I probably should mention for each zodiac sign. I mean, I literally have to get up at 3:30, so I must love you guys. It's effectively 9 o'clock at night here, and I've got to get up at 3. At this point in time, search Capricorn. And at the moment, Pluto also is retrograde, which is interesting. I'd give it a wide berth of 5 years for that energy, but still, you're going to see it. I'm getting ready for work, but listening. You naughty girl. Yeah, get ready for changes there, dog. Like, I literally said, childcare, schools, the car industry, technology, your local areas, like your supermarkets. Get ready. They're all going to change. Okay? Uranus is in the house. Drastic sudden change. Could we have power outages? Yes, go reference the article I wrote. There is a possibility. changes in trade, did mention that. Changes in environment, can be earthquakes. I still feel a major one, more so August. I could be wrong. I don't know why I picked that portal. It's just what I felt. Okay, Aries, you guys at the moment spiritually have been going through a lot of healing. And I'll say that, especially with Aries and Chiron and your zodiac sign. You have been transitioning through you versus other people. You also might have had issues with friends. Now, it's not that all of these subjects are going to be negative, and navigating that, sometimes you can be like, is there something wrong with me? You could reconnect with old friends. Your hopes, dreams, and aspirations could be changing. What you do for other people versus where you are right now is chalk and cheese. Because we do look at the 11th house a little bit like a humanitarian. You don't have to save the world, because you have had placements in your zodiac sign in the first house previously. A lot of you were quite tired from last year. We haven't necessarily had the complete forward momentum to get these things done, although you are going to have changes. Now, one of the things I have been noticing from looking at the collective energy of Aries is there is a potential at the moment where you could be getting to a point, and I'm going to look back at the chart again. You could be getting to a point that you are looking at life and saying, I don't know if I want this direction yet. Something's not fitting. Now, some of you could have landed in an area and you've been working very hard and you've been trying to get things done, and you're like, you know what? How do I balance myself? Why am I looking at this? Now, if you are having a circumstance inside of your career transition, there is a particular aspect showing at the moment to me that if you were a freelancer and you were doing a side hustle of some description, what you could do if you're intuitively picking up on something being a bit funky or off, it could be that if you, and I'll give a myriad of ways it can happen, because I'll be honest to you, a lot of these transits, you could say you've got a 7th house. It could be your relationship, and there's a full moon hitting it, for instance, and hard aspects. It could be that you end a relationship, but it might be that you pay a big debt off. It could be that there's something in your Venusian body. So there is effectively a myriad of ways that it can be happening, right? So one astrologer might say, I've heard one astrologer, all he's talking about is Libras getting pregnant. And I'm like, you do realize your audience can be quite broad. Okay, not everyone wants to get pregnant, which love and light. But I'm merely making a suggestion that, yes, in fact, it is quite broad. So for you, Aries, communication, thoughts, crosswise, very possibly. Very careful of gossip, and that's collective energy as well. Very careful. Changes you will get in a car. If you don't, it is going to come. Okay, there is going to be changes. Rejection is universe's protection. They're going to give you something. In Mercury retrograde, I do want you guys to be super careful about driving. Okay, be present when you're driving. Do not get distracted. Home, you could have bought a home. If you're wanting to move towards that, there is an area where you could. You also could have changes with a home-based business. It does not have to be that you're having shit go down with family, okay? You could be having all of these things happen. Now, between now and next year, if you are not liking where you are and you do not feel respected, you can build your exit strategy, and it is between now and February. So get prepared. Now, if something happens now, you deal with it now. And trust universe. If it doesn't, you do your transition. Your wellness and how you're looking, it's going to change too. Things could become a little bit psychological. I want you to keep an eye on the transits. You can jump to 101 YouTubers and Dalmatians. Where situations come to Pisces, you might want a bit more private time. Those of you that deal with an Aries, understand and respect that when there is a particular transit moving over the 12th house, it can be very psychological. They might want their space and not to take it personal, okay? Taurus, for you guys, you have had a bit of a shit show. Okay. It has been difficult. Number one is Uranus does not like to be in your house. Okay. So as much as you didn't like it, they didn't like you either, because you like systems and structure. You want to build the pyramid for life, and Uranus wants to rip your carpet out and tell you to get used to it and get used to flexibility, which I'm not saying we won't have to do that moving into the house of Gemini. But I am saying for you, you're going to be this, thank goodness that thing is gone. It is coming back. So it's not completely over yet, but you are given some grace because it will effectively be leaving. Now for you, especially because you are a Venus energy, you could feel a bit out of sort at the moment. Now, your second house can be your confidence, your self-esteem, your diet, your nutrition, your eating habits, your resources. You do need to keep good with people. However, don't hold on too tight. So what can happen with Uranus is it is going to change your wealth, your resources. I always do see a shadow energy with things. So the one thing I could say is be intuitive. Okay, get used to being intuitive. Get used to gauging things. You may need to get into a new routine, especially if you're wanting to achieve something. So the second house can be like, it could be that there's a lot of people around you suddenly. It might be that you become more social because it can be physical, material value and land. It might be that you need to refine what you're doing with that. And again, that's not legal advice. It's how an aspect could kind of play out. It is over this time frame going to change that particular area in your life. So it's confidence, wealth. It could be, gaining an asset. Your resources are going to change. Okay. Don't get scared of that. Try and trust the process. It is going to change those things for you. Now, there could be some conflict going on with communication. Again, driving, be cautious with driving. Home, I would say again with your family members this month moving into August, be very careful. Crosswires can occur, nostalgia, bumping into people of the past, situations relating to home of the past can come up. Also be careful from it's like if you don't want more kids, be careful. Old subjects to do with children can come up. And for you, where the Capricorn moon falls is in your 9th house. Now, this can be to do with issues for siblings. It could be to do with litigation. And again, not legal advice. So it could be, a situation you're dealing with which can be conflicting and you need to see a professional. It might be that you are wrapping something up. It could be your belief systems all of a sudden change. I would say try to not clash with siblings. There could be something that you end up unhashing, especially if there's full moon, stay clear, lay low. The other thing is, if you do want to travel, there could be, especially when you are looking at different cultures and beliefs, it can physically shift you. But you could be very worried. For some of you can be traveling, okay? Now, this also can be a realization that you want to upskill. You could be the teacher. You could be the guru. You could want to teach people. You may find that there are changes happening in your employment environment, and it is making you feel as though you really need to upskill. Now, there is that potential, especially with AI. So for you, I would say be careful of your spiritual kind of thought processes, get grounded, take some time. If you do want to deal with a circumstance to do with your beliefs, your marriage even could link to the 9th house. There could be conflicts between what you do and another person does. You might be having this tit for tat back and forward and it's causing conflict. I'd say try to this month moving into about mid-August to be patient with that circumstance. If it's something that's been kind of dragging on for a long time, this is an opportunity first to really kind of siphon through that frequency and look at maybe what those things are, and then go back to the table and go, okay, have I done my dash with this? Is there something I need to look at? If you already are going through a separation, it can be those subject matters too, and something directly coming to a close. But it isn't old. It's a situation that's ending and ushering in a new beginning. And I would say during a full moon in general, emotions can be high. So it's being patient with that circumstance and knowing it's not the status of your whole life. You know, any ending in general is inevitably a brand new beginning. And 9 times out of 10, we actually don't trust that. Yet, if we do have reference points in our life of previous circumstances where we felt we went to hell and back, and then we go, hey, but hang on a minute, I actually felt really great after that. It's not don't honor the feelings you're having. It's more just get that where you're going is spiritually destined for you, and please trust that. Gemini, you guys are having an interesting dynamic. And for those of you that are Gemini, I actually did talk to you guys about this. So any heads up, any hands up? Do you remember this conversation? I did say, your life is about to change in good and bad ways, okay? Like I've said before, when we have a planet ingress, we do have an adjustment period. Now, for many of you, you may have felt that there were particular areas in your life that just were not changing. You know, a lot of things to do with family and home were on the back burner. Oh, lovely. You're gonna have this used to be a fun house. Yeah, you're gonna have one of those this month, moving into August. Oh, God. Okay, I want you to understand, especially with that placement, more so from the Leo aspects, okay? It can feel literally like eclipses, and you can tell me if this is true for you, the way those placements are, eclipses would really impact you, okay? You could literally feel like you want to lose your nana, that just, it doesn't flow. Like, you know, you do get these people that are just like, you know, and I'm very picky about spiritual practices relating to which moon it is based on the astrology, especially as a psychic medium. I'm like, yeah, that's a Scorpio one. I don't think you should be doing that right now. It's like, you know, you're opening up a portal. So because you have the aspect, and it's quite opposite actually, it's sun and moon, you can find that your attachment to desiring movement or clarity, it can get very emotional. It can feel almost distorted, like a Neptunian energy. You do need to look after, and this isn't like the aspect, it's more like your nervous energy with Uranus and Gemini. So I'd be really careful integrating to do with caffeine, to do with psychedelics or anything like that. You're going to need to be really acutely aware. You could be attracted to those things, but Neptune can create issues as well as Uranus, okay? So protecting your nervous system as we're integrating, because it's moving. It's like you having no energy and suddenly you're bouncing around with Uranus and you're like, but it hit you out of nowhere and you're like, whoa, okay, so that's how it can directly affect you. Now that's long transit. So slow and steady wins the race. It will not be slow. You may at times want to rebel and not take responsibility. You might take on a lot of responsibility. This probably isn't the complete good time to take on a bunch of things or to schedule in a lot of things, because there is going to be transitions in that direct department. Now, you may all of a sudden be looking at what I have. Let me explain it. What your assets are versus what you want to achieve. It can be a loan. It can be, okay, how can I network and negotiate this contract? The 8th house, and it being a full moon, can be debt. It can be tax. It can be legacies, inheritances. It can be what you want to leave. It can be the things that you directly depend on. I could say that some white goods could go, right? Especially because of where Virgo is at the moment. You might have individuals in your family that they're changing, like they're not the same as how they used to be. This could be older relatives. I would pay attention to that during this time, integrate and connect with them, and be aware that there can be changes there. But for you at an individual level, this is an opportunity to look tangibly at how you could create sundries. And so from a business point of view, it could be that you have these revelations of what you do. But it's usually not until we have a Neptune retrograde do you realize some of those do work and some of those don't. But you are going to be establishing over the next 12 to 6 months means and ways to create more resources for you, because the shadow sign's Cancer. So at the moment, it could be that you're wanting to do something in your house, but you're sort of like, God, do I have money? Should I do that? Should I not? Where you live, what you want. It could be on the fence again, things going with family, pulled in two directions. And you are going to need to be careful with these opportunities, because there's a lot. Now, your focus is going to predominantly be career in general. Capricorn, in layman's terms, is the career energy collectively. Being in the house of being in the moon, it is emotion as well associated to it. It's intuitive. It can be subjects to the family. It's like my family, my physical home environment. It could be my kid. It could be my own emotions and my body. So with the North Node in Pisces, that is going to be a very, very direct thought process. Saturn moving back can restructure that, especially when it does physically jump back into Pisces. So some old things you might end up returning to and retrieving and bringing forward with you that you directly cast away. So if there was something, I would say, from last year into now that you kind of cast aside, it could be that you actually bring it back and you kind of redirect yourself as you're moving forward. Does that land? Some of those things going on? As I mentioned to you, which I didn't remember, I said, for some of you, it could be that you're networking with other people. And there could be a lot of that. But I would say, especially because we did have the North Node in Aries, we do have placements in Aries, it has set the tone up for that full cycle moving forward for all of us, pretty much until it comes full circle again. Even though we are nodal shifting, it's still one of the subjects where we're walking forward with. Keep your autonomy, okay? Don't lose who you are. You are going to rediscover who you are, but also hold something for yourself, because it is you building something as you're actually moving forward. I think some of the difficulties, be careful with contracts, read the fine print. If you can avoid signing anything, you might need to wait till the end of August. Gauge it. Okay. Now, it's funny because you have in your Venusian energy, there can be some transitions and changes, and it can be that something that you're dealing with. You could be more in a spiritual place where you're wanting to, there could be changes happening in your relationship sector. I'm going to be honest with you. But sometimes you might not see these things because you have something going on. And so the caution can be to actually keep that communication open. Because where it does come to you in other energies, like dynamics that can be coming up in romantic liaisons, can be subjects to do with family, and that's on their side or your side, belief systems, emotions, old history. Okay. Do we have a Cancer in the house? You guys, it can just be that you're spiritually coming to terms with something, Cancer. You are not the same as what you used to be. You are going to have opportunities. You could feel pulled in between two worlds. You could see maybe in a circumstance both sides of the coin. There could be a conflict going on in a particular area that you could literally be looking at the map of your life at this point in time. There could be subjects to do with career, finances, the past, the here and now. And for all of us, some of it can be the past, especially back to 2020, referencing Pluto and where the nodes were. So 2020 and beyond, we have been trying to evolve, and we are actually directly shifting forward. So for you could have a status of a relationship change. You might be looking at your wealth. You could be dealing with a previous situation relating to a previous partner. You could be going down memory lane relating to this and liberating yourself and understanding that you are actually ready for new chapters, and you are going to do this differently. This is going to be different on this occasion, especially because of where we are going to have, or which we do at the moment. We have Aries and Chiron giving us a hand dealing with our wounds. We also will have that retrograde, which can give us some time to reflect of how far we've come and different tactical approaches and how those wounds are going to become gifts for you in an asset sense moving forward. And Saturn and Neptune also are going to help you in that particular area. Now, one of the warnings can be is that because Jupiter is entering into your house, you're going to have a lot of opportunities. You could also be looking at a circumstance that you want to address where it could be a few things. Now, one, it could be you're choosing to leave a circumstance. You could be becoming more spiritual, looking at your values. You might end up traveling more. This could be online, or it could be physically driving or flying. You know, again, I'll say a lot of astrologers can say maybe they reference spirituality, or maybe they reference going to school and learning something, but you could be the teacher. So you could be training somebody. The other thing is you could be suing somebody, or somebody could be suing you. Now, generally speaking, Jupiter will, providing you take the opportunities, you can have open doors for yourself. So it can be that. So, you know, how could it play out? It could be that you want a divorce. That could be something. Now, in reference to this here, the Capricorn moon, some old triggers of the past will come up. Now, for some of you, it doesn't mean you're going to have a divorce. Just because that placement's there are a myriad of situations and how they potentially could happen. But generally speaking, I do think there is going to be more opportunities. Now, the one warning could be wear loose clothing, and that's not the warning. The warning is that due to a circumstance, it could be that you find that Jupiter can tend to make us gain weight. It is only for a year. It also could make you do the polar opposite, because what's Jupiter? It's sporty. So it could be that suddenly you feel you really want to take care of yourself. Now, I've had Jupiter transit some particular houses. At the end of it, I always did move into that more sporty side of things. But again, because of other hard aspects, wellness, etc., it did cause weight gain. So if that does happen, it could be, for instance, you fall pregnant. It could be that you are sitting a lot because you're becoming very creative and working online, or you become unwell, so blah, blah, blah. So there's 100 ways it can happen. But how you can kind of counterbalance it is, I do believe, which I've heard, is if you wear loose clothing, the energy of Jupiter goes into the things that you're wanting to build over it happening to you. Okay, so give it a go. Tell me how it goes for you. So this Capricorn energy can be, and I do see a lot of career happening for you guys, so be open to these opportunities. You really do have some big things coming. Now, your second house of professional resources, assets, you could be reviewing that. You might be getting rid of things that you feel don't resonate with you, selling them off during the Mercury retrograde. I'd be really careful about buying anything during Mercury retrograde, because I just feel that also can be an issue. You may need to use the Mercury retrograde to assess where you want to go in your life, be it business, be it career, be it finances. I do feel you could be very passionate, but you also could overspend during this time. So just be careful in that particular department. It's funny because where you have Gemini, right, in its location, it can do a few things. For some of you, if you have felt that you've always kept things in your mind, it may be that you articulate, Cancer, more of how you are feeling. I do feel at times you are going to be more private. It might be that you just feel you need some space at times. And I'd say when we have particular transits, honor that. I'd also say you can be really challenging a lot of air-based frequency. Now, for some of you, these things that have been stifling you, and this, again, it can happen where you decide, hey, I want to go to a therapist. And it might be that you find a real breakthrough with that. It might be that you become extremely psychic and you start having revelations and downloads. And again, if you need help, I can support you. Go to the links below, and, you know, if you get any confused. It also can be where a radical idea and dream, you actually, all of a sudden, it's like you thought it and bang, it happened. So that is something that can happen. Now, it had been hindering you to a degree. It was very psychological over the last few years, but I do feel as though this actually can benefit you, but it's also really looking after your nervous system, okay? It's grounding yourself, noticing any changes, honoring them, and, getting them checked. But ultimately, I do see it as innovation, transcendence, religious connections, beliefs, and paradigm shifting. So you might actually feel that you do need to, especially if you're in a connection, it might be that your love interest doesn't really understand what's going on with you and you feel you won't be understood, and you can bear that. But you actually can have a lot of breakthroughs if you do open up and you are both on the same page. Who do we have next? We have Leo. Okay, I have mentioned this before. Leo, you guys do need to understand Mercury is going to be retrograde in your sign. A lot of your professional resources are changing, assets, etc. You're looking at wealth moving forward. And your wellness at the moment. So it could be that you are kicking a habit. It might be that some routine you do need to change, and it's like, this isn't working. And so that can really bristle you. The sixth house can be, patterns, habits, pets. It could be a pet transitions over. It might be that you're getting into a more structured routine and you're looking at, okay, I need to change these things. There's something that has been going on for a long time. I really need to address this. I really need to change this. Now, the sixth house can be where we have bad habits that are hindering us. Now, that could be so many. What could it be? It could be the way we think, the way we feel, and it's hindering our process and progress. It could be the way we look at our routines and we feel burdened, and why isn't anyone else helping me? So if you have a connection, your viewpoint versus others could be, coming up. You also could feel as though you are working very hard, and, sometimes the sixth house can be real mundane things that you just feel like you're doing eat, pray, repeat, and you're not living. You also could be having issues based on its position collectively. You could be having issues where you're watching your back at work. You could feel that there are nasty people around you where you just feel you do your routine, you do your shit, and you just keep having people coming at you. Again, I will say this to you: if something isn't resonating with you, say you were kicked to the curb, you deal with it then. If you know something has been like this for a long time, it is time to address the elephant in the room. You have between now and February. Otherwise, like anything, universe gives you 3 warnings. We don't honor it, it comes around full circle. It keeps coming back till it's addressed. So ultimately, honor your soul and its feelings and say, okay, instead of getting triggered, first, let's acknowledge what is and what isn't. Next, based on some circumstances happening in that environment, it can be that there's a lot of changes happening and that those routines you were very comfortable with are suddenly going out the door. Can happen depending on the industry you're in. You can actually, by keeping in a very set routine, get to a goal. You can also be dealing with a karmic situation, but it's closing out. It is a full moon. Because it's around family at the moment, don't try to create a row. If you're feeling something and it needs to change, especially if you're in a parental role, could be, again, a routine changing around that circumstance. And you could be looking at, okay, where is this taking me? I do see health kicks as a potential and turning over a new leaf relating to your wellness. But also, just all of a sudden, it could be, you know what, I've had enough, I'm doing something. Or you could be leaving a circumstance because you feel it's going nowhere. But I feel it's lots of changes in that area and ultimately coming to terms with the past. For some of us, this can be very nostalgic and connected to loved ones on the other side collectively. And if you feel you're doing that, it is part of it. Virgo. Are you going to like me as soon as I do your read? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I wasn't going to do zodiac signs. I can't believe how long I'm in. And hubby was waiting for me, and he's going to go to bed now. What time is that? Lord have mercy on my stuff. Okay, Virgo. I can say Mercury retrograde is going to affect you. Your energy is in the South Node. You can feel very unjusted. You can feel as though so much is changing and where the hell am I going? Now, that will come up, and I do predict between August, September, like you're going to start feeling the eclipses already. Get prepared, be aware, jump in, grab a coaching session if you need, or look at the astrology to understand and know how it's going to happen. You versus other people, marriages, contracts, partnerships. Who you are is going to go, and you're like, where's it going? You're just like, where's it going? You're going to feel different. You will feel different. You're evolving and changing. It can feel slightly frightening at times because you don't know why this is happening. You can feel really happy one minute, really sad the next. It is part of the transit. It's not that it's going to punish you the whole way through. It's transforming and helping you heal and acknowledging the things that you are and the things that you're not. Okay. Now, you could literally at the moment, now what's the fifth house? It could be subjects to do with kids. It could be subjects to do with romance. Like what's happening with that romance? Your creative energy. You could literally finish a creative project. There might have been something that you were doing and you're like, I need to put this down. It could just be that you complete it. So it could have been anything. Affairs. Okay. The fifth house can relate to illicit affairs. So being a full moon, you can feel as though you've had to go overshadow work if something like that happened, and it's kind of made you feel, it will make, generally, if we've come to terms with something, it's going to make us feel better. The other thing is, it could be that we're just getting to a point we don't relate to certain things. So the fifth house can be beautiful and creative. It is a full moon, which means an ending and a new beginning. You do want romance in your life. You do want the spiritual connection in life. But you also can have some things externally that are hindering you doing those things. So you can be pulled in two directions. Psychologically, if there was trauma, more than likely it can come up, but it is going to be put to rest. It could be that you discover something. Although for a majority of you, I don't feel so. Being a fifth house, it could be that somebody has done something wrong by you. But spiritually, I'm feeling this is more an old situation and it's ending for a new one to come. So big changes with your kids, those of you that have kids, big changes with romance. Try to not be too strict. Try to honour the things that you need and maybe keep that communication open. And again, from a creative project, it can be that you feel that maybe your pastimes, your habits and hobbies, they're just going to be different. Libra, heck on earth. You know, I listened to an astrologer the other day and they're like, yes, they're good, Libra. And I was like, I would love to hear a Libra come in the house and tell me they're great. Now, I would say for air signs, this apparently is their time frame moving forward. It does not mean integrating don't suck, okay? Any Libras in the house? Like, it has not been easy. Well, no, Angela, you've got a bit of Libra in your chart, don't you? So, they're beautiful Libras and Aries. Love you to bits. You are changing. You are moving through a transition between you other people. You had that over the last year. You moved into this year. Retrogrades, Venus retrograde. Lucky Taurus, lucky Libra. Now with this Capricorn moon, you do have a pull at the moment, and it's almost like Libra is trying to balance a myriad of things. You can see both sides of the coin. Your belief system and energy is shifting. You got it all going on. Okay. You're being very realistic to do with money. The funny thing is that you are going to have a great deal of ability to manifest particular things. So, you know, for some of us, you could be very angry at yourself for where finances are. Neptune and Saturn are moving retrograde. What did that? all of a sudden I heard this in my head, and it's don't get angry, baby, get everything. And I don't think it's a divorce, okay? A lot of astrologers have been saying that too. A lot of times, certain aspects can create various things, depending on your birth chart as well. So this is going to be a creative time. This is going to be a time of integration. There can be something coming up. Look, it could simply be a trauma relating to your physical environment. And like maybe before you had all these things happen, and it was like, and so when we get a signature of something terrible that's happened, sometimes we can see it and we can get paranoid it's going to happen again. You can be purging that factor. You can be healing a lot to do with your ancestors on the other side. So if you had a loved one, it might have been over the last few months, probably 6 to 12 months, that you've really gone back and forward to do that, and you've tried to look at it. Even if this is really a long time where this person transcended, it may have come up for you. So wounds to do with having to move and where to live and where do I feel home? Do I relate to my family? Does my family understand me? And some of you might have really excelled at this, and you've kind of got the golden globe and you're like, shit, you know, I've really come through this, and I'm really dealing with these energies with my family and my connections in a very different way. Wow. Hats off to you if it has. Well done. The other thing can be you do feel pulled in between everything that everyone else needs, which was part of the karmic lesson we actually did learn last North Node, right? We did put ourselves on the back burner, A, because we were changing, okay? It just wasn't a one-sided transaction there. And B, because there was things where we had to deal with marriages, contracts, partnerships. It was like, right, and it could have been, hey, I need to deal with money, or hey, I need to deal with physical connection. Opportunities. What do I do? Okay, very busy. You've moved into this year. Now, this energy could be a concern and a change happening in home. It might be that something breaks at home and it needs fixing. It could be that there is a change in a physical contract. You might move home. There could be a change in your family, around your children, mother. Yeah, maybe even father, because we do have the Saturnian energy linking to Capricorn, although you could look at both of them as feminine signs, Cancer and Capricorn. I think this time at the moment, Libra, is a time to integrate and not to put too much pressure on yourself. That if you can do something, do it. If you can't, don't. You do have time to change your mind. I just keep hearing that, honestly do. We do have time to change our mind. Again, from a creative pursuit, you are going to be a bit of an innovator. You also are you may become very valuable. Okay, you could have very bold kind of ideas from a creative point of view. Also, with the fifth house, I do see that you could have interest in occult wisdom, spirituality, humanitarian. Very open-minded. Actually seeing life from a different perspective. But there are times where you may find that, you know, you may create a trend over the next 20 years where you do something and somebody's like, heck, that is nothing anyone else has done. And it could even be a statement as per se. So things are going to surprise you. How you look at your hobbies and goals. It literally could be, I can't use that analogy, that's bad. It's like dirty underwear. It's like, meh, doesn't fit, you know. It's sort of like you could get bored easy. So I would say be very cautious with Neptune and Uranus and all the rest of it. You're going to have a lot of ideas. You're going to have a lot of movement. A lot of you are probably thinking, you probably landed on a couple of horoscopes, and I'd love to hear this, okay? Tell me, Libra, I would love to know, have you landed on a video over the last 6 months, say, and they've said that you're having fun and it doesn't relate, or they've said that this great luck's coming and you have not felt that? I would love to hear. Now, I will say I'm with you on that, and it's not to say it's all been shit. Like, it's been challenging. Where you are going is going to be different. Okay, you might have even come a whole 180, 360, whatever, and gone, you know what, sort of, I can do this. And it might have been, again, a hobby, a goal, an ambition, a thought. Pause that thought, very, very possible, distinctly possible. Pause that thought, move forward. And like I said, it's okay to change your mind. Now, I would say at the moment, you could get a bit of a break. You might be more used to wanting to be with yourself at the moment and thinking. And, if you are in a partnership, just express that. Say, look, I just need 2.5. I'm going through something that's not personal, but I need a moment. This can be with your friends and family. A lot of astrologers have been mentioning that Libra is going to be busy. If anything, more than likely, people are going to call you, Libra. You are not going to call them. And again, please tell me if this has been happening. Now, your schedule in disarray. Again, you could be used to that. You're a Libra, right? You can balance that. You shouldn't have to, but you do. Your wellness, again, you can have that under review. There could be some panic attacks and things like that. Again, it will pass, but you do need to practice good spiritual practice. As it comes to relationships, some of you could be finding that there's a lot of responsibilities, especially those of you in a connection at the moment. Now, I can say, those of you, if you are away from a connection and thinking back to a previous connection, this cycle could bring that person back. It also can be is that you are very strict moving forward. Now, navigating this in how to do relationships is going to be very new with Saturn and Neptune and Aries and Uranus and Gemini. It doesn't mean it can't be done. For some of you, spiritually, you could be more evolved. It's navigating it and moving, having your autonomy, dropping codependency, but also almost like having a relationship, but having your autonomy, if that makes sense. It can be that both parties are going to be busy. Now, what you are going to require is somebody who's responsible. The other thing can be, for those of you, say you decide that you are going to reconcile with someone, it could be that there's a bit of a restriction and a restructuring, which is quite normal. Like if you had a breakup and a makeup, it's like there's a restructuring. It could be around finances, wealth, etc. That could take about 3 years. So keep that in mind as you're doing that. Okay, if you want to go deeper, you can book a reading. Scorpio, hard times relating to home and family. For those of you that I've coached, you know this, transitional, changeable. Try to be open-minded, okay? Try to be open-minded, especially relating to the Capricorn moon where you stand, how things are playing out for you. You can become quite susceptible to the Neptunian energy because many of you can be quite psychic. So be aware of that also. Now, I would say if there is something happening with a sibling, it could wrap up. There could be something that comes up. There could be a document. There might be something that you're doing or a situation relating to a car. It might be that you're buying a new car. And again, don't do that during Mercury. Keep your receipt. Hire it. Make sure it's got insurance. So there could be an old contract, something old from the past that needs to be done. Could be paperwork. Could be, getting an assignment done. It might be a conversation with a sibling. Maybe a situation comes to a head relating to a sibling. Your thoughts, routines, diet, nutrition, that could be changing. Check the use-by dates at the minute, especially based on the position for you and the third house. I would look at that, okay? Now, as to study, education, routine, your communication style, how you've understood things, it can be that you are maybe even finalising a conversation with an individual to, bury the hatchet. Now, with Pluto transiting your fourth house, a lot of your connections around your family are going to evolve. Sometimes, and I do see this position as more positive than negative, but I would say at the moment it can be that you can feel during the retrograde very reflective. I do think if there's been dramas in a particular area, do realise that as Pluto goes direct, it might be that these things do need shifting. So you have between then, like now and then, to be prepared for that. Be open-minded. Don't freak out. Better to be prepared. Any hopes, dreams, aspirations? I'd also say that you can feel very crowded, and there's something to do with connections and groups. It might be that you do need to be quite social, but it might be that at times that social frequency actually overwhelms you. For some of you, it might feel that you're connected in with a group, but that you really don't fit. And I would say it's something in that is evolving. This also can be where you do actually have like electrical items that are going to need repairing. So, if you do have a bit of sundries, keep them to the side, be prepared, and, as it goes, flow. Okay, you do have a lot of attention at the moment. Relating to romance, creativity, spiritual practices. Again, I do see this being that it is in the North Node. It is sort of getting you to really move into hobbies, practices, dreams, aspirations, journaling, from a dream. I would be careful in addressing any emotions, and be careful with more the frequency of it could be that you're wanting romance. It might be that you're wanting to actually almost have this psychic connection, and you can become quite psychic through this, where you're very intuitive and you're sensing what people are feeling. I'd just be careful based on the aspect. Like with Neptune, it makes you feel more rational, sitting with the house of Saturn. In Aries, it's a total different ballgame. So you could be feeling that you're going backwards, but things will effectively flow forwards. It can be where you're on the astro realm when you're connecting with loved ones. And again, I would say this is going to be a time where you may be very conscious of your image. Saturn and Neptune retrograding in the same house initially, what you'll find is it could be that we've kind of had an introduction to it. Going retrograde, it's going to slow down. Going direct, it might be that you want to change everything. Now, generally speaking, from a spiritual point of view, you will find it's what's going on the inside of you, and then what's outside shines. So, you can't surface value this thing. You may need to be more independent in that factor. You might be like, there could be confidence issues that come up. And again, this is positive. You might want to have a dream do. You might go through different changes. You could literally hit the gym. Now, you're going to have to be careful of sprains, right? Because what does Aries do? It jumps in. You could be onto each fad. Now, it might be that you do need to be careful, especially if you haven't seen a professional, for instance, and it could be relating to, I'm taking a bunch of herbs. It's an example factor, so be careful. Some of your patterns and routines may need to change. Life does appear to be that it is going to get busier, so you do need to be aware of that. And if there's something that you're doing, a sense of a daily routine or a pattern that you feel you don't want to take with you into 2026, 2027, you may need to really think about that between now and February next year. It's kind of like a time limit. Otherwise, this could be kicking habits, but it's also getting to root causes of things. And you can be very passionate in a particular area. Okay, there could be something to do with an inheritance. And they also, it's weird because you could be really spiritually feeling as though what you once depended on is not there. And you could be looking for what that next thing is. And, when I do talk about the eighth house, this is tax, debt, legacies, inheritances. Little examples can be like, what can I, in a resource factor, depend on? Can be like the accountant that you go to. Again, it's an external give and take situation. They do it once a year. It might be your insurance provider. It could be daycare because you have to work and you're a parent. So it's some give and take situation. You could receive a lot of gifts through this placement. You also can be effectively creating different streams and resources where you're not physically having to be there every day, but there's something that you are moving towards to create some sustainability. I would say this also can be maybe an industry you move into. It's like some of the rules around that particular industry could radically change. And it's kind of saying to you and preparing you that that might be a little bit challenging. It might be relating to AI and rules and regulations and potentially the industry you're looking at. It could be that you were really gung-ho about it and then you looked at it and gone, oh, heck, am I really ready for this? So there could be that paradigm that you do mentally need to be prepared for. That's something that you effectively do move into, could be very changeable. So you're going to have to be very flexible, prepared, and to think on your feet. Sag, big changes happening in your resources that will be coming through. It might be that you do, it could be something, it might be that you pay a big debt off, it could be that that comes to a head, it might be that you find out about that. This could also be lottery wins. Sounds strange being a full moon, but the axis, especially in a very early degree relating to Cancer and Pluto, can be wealth. You might want to save. You might need to leave a place or something that's on your resume, for instance, because it's a professional resource. It might be somebody who always vouched for you and suddenly you realize they're your worst enemy. So that can be changing. It's refreshing your resume, making sure those things are fine-tuned. Your confidence, your diet, your eating can change. What you do, what you believe. Bad self-talk. It's kind of the throat chakra. The other area it can directly relate to is, hey, I want to save for a house. I need to start getting my resources in order. But this can also be a bill that you pay off. Aquarius, this for you is actually very personal. And feel free, if any of you want to ask after in this particular area and you're like, you haven't really addressed that, feel free and I'll address it. So Aquarius, for you, this is your retrograde. Pluto is directly retrograde. Your income can be changing, your resources, your professional resources. You might be very focused on it. You also, you do need to be very careful driving. You do need to be careful in a sense of getting in trouble. Watch what you say. Watch what you do. This could be very creative. I'm telling you, you're going to be very busy. If you find that intellectually your head is too busy, you might need to find methodical ways to unwind, especially with technology and the placements in your chart. It can be that you're overstimulated. So you're going to have to really be careful of stimulants. You can have some changes happening with siblings. And again, your communication style and your routine and the things that you do. Now, like I said, where you maybe were in hermit mode, that might be over. Suddenly you might be out in the open and in the public. And if you've been worried about something, again, you can spiritually come to terms with it. If you've been purging and reflecting, your psychic energy also can go through an evolution. Now, Pisces, last but not least, you also are directly in the nodes, okay? Yes, between Virgo and Pisces, your relationships can be changing. You both can be changing. This can be very psychological. If you have felt quite burdened, Saturn was previously in your zodiac sign, it can be some of that crap comes back again and it's feeling overwhelming. You can feel as though you just want to loosen the reins, go off and do your thing, have your spiritual freedom. You could feel a little bit disillusioned that things aren't going according to plan. And you could feel as though where you wanted to be, because where is the seventh house for you? Your money, your resources, all the rest of it's all in the south node. So it's almost like what you directly depended on before, maybe going through an evolution. So what could that look like? That could be how you spend your money. It might be getting a different contract and receiving. It might be that the value that you once got from something, it's just not spiritually there. And so sometimes we directly can feel as though it's a circumstance that's happening to us, but really it's something that's actually happening inside of us. Your relationship could go to the next level, but something in that area is going to change. So that's your marriages, contracts, partnerships. And with this Capricorn moon, you may have a falling out with a friend. You may need to look at what you are doing. Okay, so they've got kind of that position there in the 11th house. This could be like a hobby you do that's inadvertently impacting maybe a career, or it could be that you're wanting to turn a hobby into a career. But you could also have, again, it's a full moon, it's a peak situation, something that came up. There could be a ramification for something, Capricorn, because it is to do with governments, laws, structures, rules, regulations. It's a full moon and it's a new beginning simultaneously. You could feel very disconnected. You could feel maybe that a hobby or a thing that you're doing or something that you're doing for the community, it's not really appreciated. It might be that you're actually taking on something like that. So some of these subjects I've referenced could actually be the polar opposite, where you're starting a new chapter in those areas. This could be if you are looking at a personal business. This could be the planning and infrastructure that you need to address, maybe finalising some paperwork or a physical loan as per se. You could actually have difficulties from the perspective that at times you can feel everyone's coming at you. The thing that you are going to have to get used to is maybe from the crown chakra point of view, it's feeling like you're being pulled in too many directions. And I think if you quieten the noise and you get to the root cause of maybe some of these things that are happening, you could go a lot further than where things are. So there can be, with Pluto retrograde at the moment, transiting over the position where it is at the moment for you, like I said, it can be very psychological. So it's like this person said this person said that. It might be that thinking and relating and dealing can be extremely confusing. You may need to put notes. You also may need to get some coping mechanisms so that you can actually deal with your stress levels, because what can happen is you can get really stuck in a cycle. It also can be a very spiritual time. It can be almost like you can have a connection to Gaia, you can have a connection to Source, you can have creative ideas. So it's going to be a bit of both, but I would say you can feel almost like you can't find solutions and you feel very triggered in navigating those circumstances. But you are going to get to the root cause of things. There could be some anger there. You might also want to have fun. You could have all these creative ideas of what you want to do, socializing, holidaying, a business plan, some venture you want to go on to. Write it down. It's the early days of this transit. Your money is going to be a deep focus. Now, you will have a bit of a break for this. It is going to come back where you actually can address it. Now, I do believe there can be radical changes happening in your home. This can be with your mother, father. This can be your physical home living environment. This can be updating technology, or it could be your physical environment. A big conversation can be coming very soon. This could be with family, husband, wife, etc. It may even be you're stabilizing yourself to prepare for the future. Uranus and Taurus is going to create difficulties there, but it's going to create necessary change. So if universe wants you to go in a particular direction, they're going to help that situation, even though at the time you may not feel that that's helping. You could actually have, you could be very inspired all of a sudden about building houses. It could be almost like you can see different ways that you can do something in your home, and it's sort of like techie and maybe innovative in a sense. So you could have some deep interest to do with that. Yeah. So for some of you, it can be that you're kind of being pulled in two directions. It might be that you want to go, and have fun and feel spiritual and feel zen, and you feel pulled in two directions. Now, I do think, especially for your zodiac sign, this is challenging. It's when I explained to Aries last year, and we'll do the wrap up. Last year, we directly had Aries with the North Node. And so, I had a client that said to me, what should I expect? And it's funny because Aries, you guys being like a first house energy, it's almost like this theoretically should come as a first nature, right? It is kind of difficult because you function effectively. It's almost like, we all collectively scale. So one zodiac sign's one side, the shadow sign on the other wheel. So when it's balanced, it runs effectively. When it doesn't, both of those natural demeanors do not work. And so for you, it could have been with, people around you, connections, money. You weren't able to effectively operate as yourself, okay? Now, it's not that that's going to be the status quo. Let's acknowledge, there has been some dramas and triggers for Libra and Aries and Cancer and Capricorn and Gemini and Sagittarius, and the list goes on. However, in looking and dealing with it at this point in time, I think it's important to get that, okay? To have patience as you are moving forward, and to get that as we do move forward, these things are going to shift. Do we have any questions? Just in case I go off track and off topic. So, yeah, for Pisces and Virgo, it's sort of similar. And I think I did reference to Aries. It was like somebody walking up to you and saying, what do you want to do? And, especially because we have the South Node, which invertedly we directly focus on because we're freaking out. It's behind us. Where's it going? What's happening with it is that, you are going to feel at times that the spotlight's on you, Pisces and Virgo, but you won't quite know what to do. Virgo, you guys are going to feel that you have to focus on maybe your partnerships, and other people, and that where are you going? And it could be that you don't resonate with anything you're doing and that you're having a bit of an existential crisis. Have we done most of it? Yes. Well, we have been here for over 2 hours, I believe, maybe longer. I haven't even looked at the time. I've been here since 9. So, yeah, pretty fucking long time. I am going to love you and leave you. I can rest assured, if you do ask a question, when I've got 5, I'll come back and I'll answer it, okay? I hope it's helped. We will check in over the weekend.